Hi guys. So, this week we're talking about the ethical aspect of sex selection. Um, Before reading the article and learning about it, I didn't even know that it was possible. So, this is a lot of information for me at once, and I feel like I need time to digest to make sure that I know what I think is right. But based off of what I'm reading and what I'm learning, I believe that sex selection is ethical, personally. I think if there's the right intentions, though. Because, I mean, if we look at something kind of similar, like abortion, if someone has the right intentions, if it's about, oh, I'm not ready to have a baby, oh, I can't financially support, oh, this baby's just going to go up for adoption, and then into the corruption of the foster care system, all of that, most people would agree that it makes sense and that they would understand why a mother would do that. But say a mother's just having abortions as a method of birth control, and it's because of her recklessness, or it's done at the third trimester or anything like that, where it kind of sets up a warning in your head. I think that's when we all agree that that's not okay. So similarly, you kind of have to be able to agree if it's ethical or not by looking at the motivations and the methods of it being done. So that makes it a little hard to say, yes, it's ethical, or no, it's not ethical. But, I mean, first off, just reading about the PGD, the way that they do this, I mean, that's amazing. The fact that scientists have been able to figure out how to create a certain sex microscopically before the baby is born is mind-blowing. I think it's absolutely incredible that we can do that. And I think to diminish that based off of the potential issues would be kind of a shame, because to be able to see what level we could figure this out, like what things can we control, can we genetically avoid certain issues that might come out because of genetics, like all of that could be amazing. But like it said in the article, with the illegal procedures in India where they would get rid of the baby if they found out a certain sex while the mother was pregnant, I mean, that shows us that the choice of the procedure really does matter in this situation. Because if we see, like, this, if we picture in our heads this perfect couple that, okay, they have a boy, now they really want a girl, and they use this to make it all exactly picture perfect, then we're like, okay, that seems fine, but you have to think of the real world implications and how this can affect us on a long-term scale. So I believe that also because of evolution, we are not morally really prepared for this. I mean, some of our instincts tell us, like, this is how you take care of a baby, these are the do's and don'ts, but I don't think we have anything that's prepared us for this moment to know that choosing what gender your baby is okay. And I think that's kind of hard for some people to wrap their brain around. I think that, like I said, the methods and the motives both affect whether it's ethical. And I think the part of the article where it talked about the committee reviewing each case and knowing and determining if it's ethical or not, I think that's great. I think that's a great way to really make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. But how does that affect us economically? Like, not everybody can afford to have it put through doctors and examined by a board. And I honestly don't know the solution to that. It kind of might be something we have to see. But some of the, I mean, you think about all of these influences on a parent to make this decision. Like the article said, it could be just about family balance. It could be like, well, we have a boy and now we want a girl, and we want to keep it even, and that makes sense. Like, a lot of of people would support that. But when you have families where gender roles come into play and sexism comes into play, that might be where it starts to create this problem. Like, a certain culture may only want boys because they believe that males are the superior race, and then suddenly you have this shortage of women in the population, and that creates all kinds of problems. Or you could have only women being chosen, and then that also creates an imbalance. So I think there's just a lot of factors to consider here. But I think if we have the right restrictions, if we have the correct information going out to the public, if this doesn't get out of hand, I think there's a lot of people that'll believe anything they read, and if people get the wrong idea about what is happening with sex selection, it could turn into a huge political debate like abortion has. But I think if we do it the right way, I think it can be extremely successful, and I think it can really make a lot of people happy. I know that in my family, or for me personally, it might be really beneficial because the women in my family, on my dad's side, it skips how do I say this? So my dad's sister was born with a severe cross-eye issue, and it's genetic, but it skips a generation. So my kids, if it was a girl, would have a very likely chance of carrying that gene and having to go through a whole lifetime of surgeries and a lot of painful issues and bullying and all of that. So if I had the choice to choose to have only male sons, then that might be an option that I consider. So I think there's so many different things that we need to talk about, but for the most part, I think if it's done right, then I do believe it's ethical.